Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
A very good morning and welcome to another edition of Newsline. Of course, your usual host Faraz Shaukatali is out for the day. I'll be sitting in for him. I'm Charlene Benedict. Let's start off with getting to know our guest for this morning, Mr. Kesalalal Gunasekara. A very good morning and welcome to the show. Mr. Kesalalal Gunasekara, the hot topic of the season of today would be the budget proposal that is due to be submitted tomorrow. What are your views regarding this?
Well, fundamentally, I feel that the budget will be more towards the election.
People-friendly budget.
People's-friendly budget.
So you mean people can expect a lot of subsidies, a lot of tax reductions?
I'm sure people will get more goodies than what it was.
But then how do you feel the Minister of Finance, Mangala Samaravira, will balance this out with commitments that he has made to the IMF and to other lenders?
Yeah, that's a serious problem. You know, already we are in serious crisis with regard to the debts that that are due to various agencies. But I still feel that we should be able to renegotiate most of these loans, etc. As to whether how we are going to do it is a big question. But we need quality people to do this. So in fairness to Mangala Samaravira, he has a problem in his hands. But at the same time, if he can negotiate that aspect, I'm sure things will be okay.
So there is also a report here in the Daily Mirror that says UNP backbenchers are planning on voting against the expenditure head of the president. Do you think this
I don't think that will happen.
You don't think this will happen?
No, that will never happen. This is the very first time that I am hearing something like this, where the expenditure head of the president is going to be defeated. I mean, I have come across situations where at various stages members say, okay, we are going to defeat particular minister's expenditure head. But this is the first time with regard to the president. I don't think it will happen, and it is committing harakiri. You should never do that. You should never do that.
Also, State Minister Harsha De Silva has said that they would not vote against.
Yes.
So are there two camps inside the UNP, you know, the ministerial camp and the
the backbenchers naturally don't they are disillusioned with so many issues. Maybe some of them have not got their portfolios, etc. So they feel that the president is responsible for all those things. You may have problems with the president, but the solution is not to defeat the expenditure of the president. The president can't continue thereafter. I mean, maybe he has powers to vote for a particular restrictive period, but still again it has to go back to parliament.
So given this contention between the government and the president, of course, and also one thing that must be noted is that the UNP does not have even a simple majority in parliament. They are in power because the TNA supported them. But there is also a report in the papers that says the TNA does not trust the government anymore, and that they are going to the United Nations to ask them to establish an office in the north. But amid this situation, now this budget, of course, is long overdue. This is not the budget for 2000. Yes, this is the budget for 2019. This year, we're currently running on a vote of account. So is there a possibility where this budget proposal might be defeated in Parliament?
I don't think so.
I know it's a bit premature to speak about
no, I don't think so, because even the TNA is not going to vote against the budget.
And why is that?
No, because it's very simple. The budget is for the country. Okay. TNA has their own problems. That's a different issue. TNA will always be fighting for on those issues. But the budget is totally different. Budget has nothing to do with the TNA. Budget is for the country, including the TNA, including North, East, everything. So, it will be ridiculous for the TNA to even think of voting against the budget. So, I don't think that the budget will be defeated.
So, speaking about the debt burden here in Sri Lanka and all that, giving more subsidies to the people and giving a more people-friendly budget. There was reports on these kind of issues. When it comes to an election year, people get all the goodies, but then they start paying for it from the next year on, because whichever government that comes into power, whichever president that comes into power will continue for 5 years on. And that just that one election year, people will get, you know, maybe a little bit cut out of their daily expenditure, but then they've got to pay way more during the remaining 4 years. Do you think a similar situation will repeat itself?
But that has always been the case in this country.
So you're fine with that?
I'm not that I'm fine. I feel this is all wrong. But then, in order to get the votes, I mean, so gullible people in this country, they will naturally vote no, if by chance goodies are given to them.
So there's
which is very wrong.
There's this famous statement that says, you know, if corrupt people are appointed to office in a democracy, the people of the country are not victims, they're complicit in the crime.
That's totally correct. That's totally correct. Because you have to understand, knowing very, now you say, you go to a shop to buy something, you check, you're going to buy vegetables, you check everything before you buy. You go to buy coconuts, you check at least 5 coconuts or 10 coconuts before you buy.
Shake them.
Yeah, shake them. I mean, you do all that. But when you elect people to parliament, you check any of those things. I don't think so. That's what is wrong in this country.
So, here at News First, we requested for the educational qualifications of parliamentarians under the Right to Information Act, and the General Secretary of Parliament wrote back, and he said that that's not covered, and that information wasn't released. I mean, even when you go for
it's not covered in the sense.
It's not. It doesn't fall under the ambit of the information that would be released under the Right to Information Act.
Who decides on that? It's a commission that has to decide on that.
Yes, exactly. So it went through the entire process, and
the commission. What did the commission say?
Yes, it said that we, at the end of the day, bottom line, we didn't get the information. This was quite some time ago that we requested for this.
But you still fight for it. I think you should fight for it, because you know why? If anybody's educational qualifications has to be divulged. There is no two words about that.
Because even when we go for a general interview for a simple position, I mean, the educational qualifications of a person is mandatory. And recently, of course, there were some, positive steps taken towards transparency and releasing information and all that. 5 MPs, 6 with State Minister Ranjan Ramanayake joining them the very next day, released their asset declarations through Transparency International Sri Lanka.
Website. Yeah, that's correct. That is something. I feel that the Parliament website should have all these things. It need not be Transparency International. Parliament website should have all these things. You know, it's the Parliament that has to decide whether we are going to declare our assets on the website of Parliament. That's all. Very simple. Let them decide and do it.
Why is it so hard for parliamentarians to declare their assets?
Because they don't want to come out. It's very simple, no? You amass wealth. Anybody, I mean, if you take 50 to 60% of the members of Parliament who have gone to Parliament, they have amassed wealth. We know 2 words about that. But you do a study. The thing is, I'm wondering as to why the media is very silent on it. They can do an investigation, no? They can do an investigation on the assets of members of Parliament or ministers of Parliament. Start with the ministers. Go to the members later. They have to do that. These people must be exposed.
So when you speak about media making revelations on parliamentarians and what they do and all that, we do that on a daily basis here. We keep on pushing for transparency, and there are some deals that were thwarted just because the media intervened. But is it really, shouldn't the parliamentarians really have some integrity? I mean, is this a whole game of hora police, as we used to call it? And it's not actually the police that are chasing them around this time. It's the media that are keeping them straight, keeping them right.
This is the issue for many years, that people with very, very low integrity is entering Parliament. I don't think some of them have any integrity at all. Are entering Parliament. But who's questioning them? Nobody. Nobody's questioning them. We don't have, we have a serious problem in this country. We don't have laws in place. Some of the laws.
I beg to differ on that point. We do have laws in place. It's just the implementation.
No. You're right on certain aspects. No, there are certain laws which needs to be put in place. I'll give you a simple example. Recently, there was this story about the hit and run incident where the Boralla traffic OIC was injured. Now, I saw in the newspapers lawyers saying there is no law. There is no law.
There's no law.
There's no law to say that a person. Now, there were 8 or 9 people traveling in 2 vehicles. Yes. None of them took the OIC to the hospital.
Yes.
None of them. So they said there is no law to say that a person, when he meets the accident, he is liable to take that victim to the hospital. Number 2, there is no law to say that when you meet with an accident, you have to immediately report to the nearest police station. If you don't, that means you are under the influence of liquor. So when this question was asked, one of the lawyers said, how do you assume that he was under the influence of liquor? These people stayed for about more than 24 hours before surrendering themselves to the police station. That is because they were under the influence of liquor. Very simple. But you can't assume that because there is no law. So, I mean, we have a funny situation. Lawyers are not interested in introducing laws because they are okay by it. Because as long as there is no law, they get their money.
Lawyers are not tasked with their... We have a system in this country.
Wait, I'm getting to you on this.
Okay.
You have to understand that it is, if the laws are not in place, true enough, it's the parliamentarians who has to do the job. But who has to tell the parliamentarians to do the job? The lawyers. The lawyers have to tell, look here, these laws are not in place. For heaven's sake, introduce these laws.
But when it comes to minor matters, of course, in Sri Lanka, we have a system where judge-made law or common law fills in the gaps of written law.
There are certain instances, but there are certain instances where you need the law to back up all these things. So you have to have all laws in place. I don't say that I don't say that there are so many things which are missing, but the important things are missing. Those things must be put in place, and then work to rule. That's all. The law takes its own course. Now there was this incident about this JVP member
KD
Lalkantha. That had nothing to do with the JVP. As a citizen, charge him, that's all. That had nothing to do with the JVP. What can the JVP do about that? I said, it's ridiculous to go after the JVP. No? You go after Lalkantha, the citizen of this country. He has committed a crime.
Because in that moment he acted as a person.
As a person.
Not as a representative of the JVP.
He is a citizen of the country. You charge him as a citizen. So you drag... I mean, this is what the media does, you know. This is very sad. It's very sad. This is what the media does. You charge him as a citizen of this country.
Of course, he was charged as a citizen of the country, but of course, in all due respect, now that you pointed the finger to the media, I'm just clarifying it. That is his portfolio. If a justice of this country, or a person holding high office, they should have a certain level.
Exemplary.
Yes, they should be exemplary.
I totally agree.
They should maintain a level of conduct.
I totally agree. I totally agree. But the exposure in the newspapers is towards the JVP. Why drag the JVP in? Why do you want to drag the JVP? I don't think it's correct to drag the JVP in on this. You charge him, that's all.
Now moving on to a little bit more of a broader picture back into national level politics. Now we spoke about certain issues inside Parliament. Let's move down. We see members of the opposition and a lot of groups demanding for provincial council elections. Between provincial council elections, the presidential elections and the general election, what are your views? What do you think will come first?
Well, the question is this: we need to understand that the presidential election cannot be postponed even by 1 day. So calling for the elections of the presidential for presidency is something that will take place, has to take place somewhere around August. Between August and now, you have 5 months. You cannot have another election and then go for a presidential. I don't think the Elections Commission can do that. So I feel what will happen is we will have a presidential election. Thereafter, we can have provincial elections. But I must tell you one thing. I mean, we need to rethink as to whether we need provincial councils. We need to rethink. I think that this is a fundamental mistake. Of course, you can't turn around easily. You can't turn around easily. But it's a big mistake that this country did by introducing provincial councils. This country does not need provincial councils.
By introducing.
You need only the local authorities and the central government.
But then recently the number of provincial councillors and local government councillors were almost doubled.
Yeah.
From 4,000 to 8,000.
Yeah. So why do you require provincial councils thereafter? I don't think you require provincial councils. Somebody has to do a deep study and take action. Because this is ridiculous. having a provincial council. I don't think it's duplication. It's more or less duplication.
Would you agree with me?
Parliamentarians wants to get involved in practically everything. Provincial council members wants to get involved in everything. That's all duplication. It's very simple.
So would you agree also that a majority of people who were elected, or like the bulk of extra people who were elected to provincial councils and local government councils are most of the corrupt people in the area, and we can see the repercussions of that. Recently, a local government councillor was charged or was arrested for the rape of a young girl, and then there have been so many incidents across the country.
That's a reflection of the society. Today the society is at that level. So that's a reflection, clear reflection. But if you ask me a frank question as to whether the politicians of the present day, be it local authorities, be it provincial councils and parliament, what the quality is, I would say very, very low. Very simple answer, very low. Low quality. But we can't expect much from them.
As a member of the general public, not as a member of this news organization or a member of the media, no, as a member of the general public, a lot of us had many hopes for this country in 2015 when we voted in the government of good governance. But we seem to be in a worse situation now.
That's always the case. That's always the case in this country. You hope, but you don't get it. You hope, you don't get it. Every election that happens, every election, you hope, you don't get it.
So are you implying that hope is lost?
It's not. You should never ever lose hope. We have to fight. We have to move on. You have to fight. That's my advice to anybody. You have to keep on fighting. I know some say it's a losing battle, but still don't give up. You have to fight, because this country must be put on track. Whether it is 50 years or 100 years, it has to be put on track. You still fight. That's all.
Everything seems impossible until it's done.
Huh?
Everything seems impossible until it's done.
No, that's because you know why you're selecting wrong people to parliament. You're selecting wrong people to provincial councils. You're selecting wrong people to local authorities. What do you expect? What else can you expect if you select wrong people? That's all. I mean, it's something very simple to understand. Very recently, I saw a lady. It's on the YouTube. He said this country can never ever
prosper.
Never ever prosper. And hindsight, I feel she's right. Hindsight, I feel she's totally right. But you should never give up. But she, of course, at the end, she said, we keep fighting. She said that as well. But I think that is where.
But let's take a look back at the leaders who have been leading these parties and this country as a whole. But you get former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, you get Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. These people have been in politics for as long as I can remember, and probably for as long as you can remember as well.
Yes.
So they just don't seem to be willing to step down from their position of power, even after they have, failed over and over and over again, and give an opportunity to someone new. They always speak about fresh leadership, about youth. They make statements saying that the youth of this country is our ticket out of this mess that we're in. But then we don't see any, we don't see their actions matching up to what they say.
It's very simple, leaders are interested in power. Power, you have to win elections. To win elections, you need all these the so-called MPs to bring in the votes. Why? Because people do vote for those people. Huh? Why is that happening? I don't believe. Now, take the case of the former president, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. He has done a lot for this country. In terms of the war, I always say that
he must be given credit for that.
He must be given. But then he was given 12 years. He was given 12 years, no? 2 terms. And if he could not achieve anything, or whatever he wanted to achieve within that 12 years, you think he can achieve anything thereafter? No. Because 12 years is good enough for any leader to put the country on track. But I'll tell you what is wrong with this country. Now, you follow newspapers in this country. You follow the electronic media in this country. What is shown on them? What is displayed on this? All rubbish. You do something wrong, you are in the newspapers. You do something good, you can't get it in the newspapers. I will tell you a story where I'm trying for the last 1.5 months I did through the foundation, the Lalitha Turatmali Foundation, a certain good deed, which I wanted publicity, which I wanted in the newspapers, not for the publicity for our foundation. Because of the media, that gentleman who reported that news story, that prompted us to help a particular family. I wanted that in the newspapers with photographs, everything. For 1.5 months, it can't get into the newspapers. But today, if I do something wrong, it will be in the newspapers tomorrow. You follow the media, you follow these political talk shows. Who are the people who come for these political talk shows?
The biggest thieves in the country.
Biggest crooks in the country. They are the people who come and wax eloquent on these channels. Why are they brought? Because they are the people who hold sway in this country. They are recognized. So it's the media that has done this total damage to this country, plus the political leaders. So on that aspect, if the media corrects themselves, now, I mean, some of these people should not be shown on television. They will die off. Within 1 year, they'll die off if you don't show them on television. That is what the media has to understand, that we are taking this country down. We are bringing this country down.
But then media, when I say media, must understand.
Electronic media plus print media, both together. You go through newspapers, you go through, we say any newspaper will have 150 stories. Out of the 150, roughly about 75 would be about crime.
So crime is, of course, rampant in this country. And when you speak about good deeds, I understand
more publicity. What is going? I have always said that there is nothing called negative publicity and positive publicity. Yeah? Publicity is publicity. You show a particular crook on television every day, that man can win an election next time.
When we speak about the political landscape in Sri Lanka,
it is only in Sri Lanka I'm talking. In any other country that doesn't happen. Huh?
Yes, exactly. So when you say do not show these political leaders on screen, there are 225 MPs.
Because our society is that. You know?
There are 225 MPs in Parliament. Who do you suggest we show when we speak about the political issues in the country?
No, I don't have to come up. You all carry out your own. You all are supposed to be investigative journalists.
These are the people.
Supposed to be investigative journalists. Start an investigation on everybody. Then you get stories. You can get to the bottom of it. Once you do that, expose.
We have exposed more crooks. We have exposed, I believe the media have exposed more crooks than the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division and all those divisions combined.
I know you have exposed, but you take it beyond that as well. You know, you need to understand.
We also paid the ultimate price for all these exposés.
You have to.
Our media institution was bombed, it was burnt down.
Correct. That's correct.
Eminent journalists like Lasantha Wickrematunge lost their lives.
Correct.
So we have paid a price.
Year.
And speaking about the whole bombing, I think it's been about 10 years, a decade since our news organization was bombed. That was way before I even joined here, and I did not see the devastation, but we do hear talk of it until date, and it still keeps on echoing, fear and all that here. But then, what has been done? Has a single person been arrested? Has a single person been charged?
So that's why I say you keep fighting. You don't give up. You show them practically every week. You have a program which shows all the crimes every week.
Right, you want to speak about about a crime that we have been speaking quite long.
No, you must get them on. All these people who do wrong things, they get away. Don't allow them to get away. Bring them to book. That is what you have to do.
Speaking about bringing people to book, the central bank bond scam. We were one of the main news organizations that were involved in the whole expose, but a presidential commission has been appointed. The chief suspect is still overseas. Absconding court.
Well,
and what can be done?
You have to follow procedures to get him down, and those are government agencies who have to do
When you say you have to follow procedures, do you mean the media?
No. ISVRP, the government agencies.
The government agencies.
The government agencies will have to follow procedures.
So, but the president came out recently and made a statement saying that, well, if the thieves of the bond scam are to be exposed, it cannot be done under this government because they were complicit in the crime.
The president needs to understand that you can bring anybody to book. I mean, it's not that difficult. No, the laws are there. So most of the laws are still in place. So it's the agencies.
But we do not have an extradition treaty with Singapore. Singapore are not duty bound to extradite Arjun Mahindran to the country, and also to remind you, he is a Singaporean citizen. They will protect their citizens.
Correct. There is always, but then if you start exposing, you bring it before various international courts, I'm sure justice will be done. You need to keep on moving. You know, you can't give up. You have to. If you're fighting drugs, you fight to the core. You go to the very bottom of it. Now, I can see there is a big shift with regard to this drug-related incidents or the discovery of drugs after the particular ministry has come under the president.
Yes.
Why it did not happen before, I don't know. Why it did not happen in the past, even during President Rajapaksa's time, I do not know. It's not because the drugs have increased, no.
Exactly.
It has happened right throughout.
It has been happening right throughout.
It has been happening right throughout. That's why, these are established routes now. Why wasn't it discovered earlier? Why weren't the detections made earlier? It's not different people who are.
Well, one can argue that these detections were made during the previous regime as well. But then there were incidents where, the former president did go and hug certain people when their houses were raided
searched and raided
were searched and raided by the
giving
SDF.
wrong signals.
Yes.
Giving wrong signals to all the agencies. Look here, Putra, don't do this. I'm against it. That's the message he gave, no? When he went, I mean, I do not know as to why that house was searched. It's not correct for me to assume why it was searched. A lot of newspapers say it was for drugs. Forget about, I mean, his house was searched, that's a different issue. But you don't have to, the president of the country, you don't have to go to his house and hug him. Why do you want to do that? I mean, if there are so many people's houses who have been searched and nothing found, that's a different, that's okay. That's a law. You can search somebody's house. Somebody can walk into my house and search my house.
With a warrant, of course.
Yeah, with a warrant, yeah, of course. But I don't expect the president to come and see me for that. I don't expect the president to come. Not anybody to come and see me. Why should they come? But the president did that. And you the president, you know why he did that? He wanted to give a message to the agencies. Look here, Puta, I'm with this man. Don't touch him. That's a message he gave.
But then President Maithripala Sirisena is giving a completely different message. There have been record drug hauls in the country, and suspects have been arrested, locally and internationally. And well, this is just a sign that Sri Lanka does have hope, and that we should continue to hold on to our faith that we have.
That's why I said don't lose faith. You keep fighting. Don't lose faith. You keep fighting.
Thank you very much, K.S. Rulal Gunasekara, for joining us on the Newsline this morning. And of course, some words of wisdom for our viewers out there to ponder on. Do not lose hope. Until next time, take care and God bless. This is the end of Newsline for today.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.